Today, we're going to tackle 3 little words that can seriously trip you up when you're talking about ability in English. Can, could, and be able to. I know, they seem so simple, right? But the rules, they can be a little tricky, so let's make them crystal clear.
So I've got a question for you right off the bat. Are you totally confident that you're using these correctly every single time? Well, by the end of this, I promise you, you're going to feel a whole lot better about it.
Okay, first things first. Before we even get into the weeds with all the different words, we need to lay down a solid foundation. We've got to be on the same page about what we even mean by ability.
So, at its core, ability is pretty straightforward. It's just the capacity or the skill to do something. But, and you knew there was a but, right? This is the crucial part. Not all ability is created equal.
And this distinction right here is everything. Seriously. We have what's called general ability. These are skills you've picked up over time, like being able to speak a language. And then you have specific ability. That's about an action in one particular moment, like successfully lifting a super heavy box. If you can get this difference down, you've basically unlocked the entire puzzle.
So with that in mind, let's grab our first and most common tool for talking about ability. We're going to start right here in the present tense with our good old friend, can.
The best thing about can is just how simple it is, at least in the present. It works for both types of ability we just talked about, the general skills and the specific in-the-moment actions. It's your go-to everyday word for this.
Let's see how this plays out. If you say, she can swim very well, that's a general skill she learned. But if you say, I can help you with that, you're talking about your ability right now, in this specific moment. See? Can handles both of them perfectly. And of course, the same goes for the negative, can't. Now, can also sort of peek into the future, but there's a catch. You can use it for specific future stuff, but only if you tack on a time phrase.
So for example, you'd say, I can come to see you next week. See that? The next week part is what makes it work. It anchors that ability to a specific point in the future.
All right, let's shift gears. We're going to look in the rearview mirror now, into the past. And this is where things get a little more interesting and a little more complex with the word could.
Okay, this is the rule you have to remember. In a positive sentence, could is only for general abilities in the past, things you were able to do over a period of time. But the negative, couldn't, that one's more flexible. It works for both general and specific situations.
So, you could say, he could lift heavy weights when he was younger. That's a general ability he had back then. But, and here's the tricky bit, you wouldn't say, he could lift the box yesterday. For the negative, though, it's easy. We couldn't make the meeting. That works perfectly for that one specific moment in the past.
Now there's another really cool way to use could, and that's to talk about a past ability that you had, but you never actually used. The formula is super simple. Just could plus have plus the past participle of the verb. A sentence like this is so powerful, right? It tells us he had the potential, he had the ability to become a lawyer, but he chose another path. It's all about that unfulfilled possibility, that road not taken. So, if can is mostly for the present, and could has all these tricky rules for the past, what do? Well, we bring in our secret weapon, the all-purpose fixer, be able to.
The real superpower of be able to is just how flexible it is. Because it's built around the verb to be, you can bend it and shape it to fit into any tense you want, past, present, or future. It's a game changer. And you can really see this power in action. For the present, she is able to. For the past, she was able to. And look, it's for a specific event, the marathon, which is something could can't do in a positive sentence. And of course, for the future, I will be able to. It covers all the bases.
Okay, this brings us to what I like to call the final challenge. This is the one spot where almost everyone gets a little bit stuck. It's the big showdown, could versus was able to. Let's really zero in on this. We're talking about a single, specific action in the past where you succeeded at something. Which one do you use? This is where that whole general versus specific thing we talked about at the beginning becomes absolutely critical.
Let's put it side by side. For a general past ability, something you did over and over, like lifting weights in your youth, could is your best bet. But for a specific one-time achievement, like finishing that one marathon on that one day, you have to use was able to. That's why saying she could finish the marathon just doesn't sound right to a native speaker. But after all that complexity, here's some good news. When we're talking about the negative, when you failed at a specific action in the past, it gets way easier. You can say she couldn't finish or she wasn't able to finish, and guess what? They're both perfect. You can use them interchangeably. So in the negative, you really can't go wrong. Phew.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here. So let's pull all of this together and build a simple, handy toolkit that you can just grab and use whenever you need it.
So, here it is, your cheat sheet. Use can for right now and the near future. Use could for those general skills you had in the past. Use was or were able to for those single successful moments in the past. And remember, be able to is your flexible friend for any tense, but it's especially useful for the future. And don't forget the easy one. Couldn't and wasn't able to are basically twins.
So, I'll just leave you with this thought. Now that you've got these rules in your back pocket, think about your own life, your own skills, your past achievements. What stories, what experiences, what will you be able to share now with a whole new level of clarity and confidence?